We begin tonight with the peace deal, which is now in force between the Democratic Republic of Congo and its neighbor, Rwanda. The respective leaders signed it last night in the United States with President Trump. The deal is aimed at ending the long-running conflict in the region. DR Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi and his Rwandan counterpart, Paul Kagame, have frequently accused each other of starting the conflict. But in Washington on Thursday, both leaders spoke of their optimism and said they would stick to the terms of the agreement, though it was noted that both men did not shake hands during the signing ceremony. But President Trump said it was a great day for Africa and the world. The signing comes despite fighting continuing between Congolese government forces and Rwandan-backed M23 rebels.
It is an amazing day. Great day for Africa, great day for the world, and for these two countries, and they have so much to be proud of. And I want to thank the leaders. I want to thank you very much. We have come to the U.S. Institute of Peace to sign a historic agreement that will end one of the longest-running conflicts anywhere in the world, with far more than 10 million people killed. Today we commit to stopping decades of violence and bloodshed and to begin a new era of harmony and cooperation between the Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda. I want to thank the two courageous leaders. They are courageous leaders. They really are courageous leaders, great people. I think they liked each other a lot. I spent time with them. I think they liked some people may be surprised. I really do. I think they've spent a lot of time killing each other, and now they're going to spend a lot of time hugging, holding hands, and taking advantage of the United States of America economically like every other country does. And I think they're going to get along really well, so I hope so. Thank you very much. Look at them. Look at the way they love each other. Thank you. So I have a lot of confidence in both leaders. We'll keep these commitments. I know they're going to keep them and follow through on the agreement and create a much brighter future for the people of their countries and their heroes within their countries because of today. And this is a big story.
President Trump, but with ourselves. It's up to us in Africa, working with our partners to consolidate and expand this peace.
The Washington agreements are not yet another document. These represent a turning point. They bring together under a coherent architecture a declaration of principles of a peace agreement and also the regional economic integration framework.
It seems quite clear that this is not a peace agreement. The proof is that as I am speaking to you this morning, I received news from my native village where they are burying the dead while a peace agreement is being signed and the war continues. The M23 continues to conquer territory, so to talk about a peace agreement is simply mocking all these victims who continue to suffer in this region. So this is an agreement that is made not for us. Everything that is done for you without you is not done for you. This peace agreement for us is not inclusive. Civil society is not involved. As a result, we consider it a peace agreement that is not sustainable either.
That's an analyst painting a rather gloomy picture there, but before him we heard very optimistic words from Felix Tshisekedi, the president of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and before him Paul Kagame, who heads the Rwandan government, and of course the president of the United States, Donald Trump. Well, for more on all this, let's speak now to the global affairs analyst and columnist for the Brussels Times, Nweke, who joins me on the line from Brussels in Belgium. Thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us. And there are, of course, multiple conflicts in the Eastern DRC, but let's start with arguably the biggest one, the M23 conflict. We saw a high-profile signing ceremony in Washington yesterday with all the pomp on show at the White House. How do you assess that?
Well, Charles, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be with you. My wife, Tonya, is such a great fan of yours and haven't missed any program of yours since the past 3 years. I thought it's important to mention that. Now, Charles, you see, the point is this. Your eagle eyes have spotted the point that there were no handshake. And this was supposed to be a peace deal. So which means that a new chapter is supposedly written today. But the reality is that that isn't the case. The signing of the Washington brokered peace agreement between the Democratic Republic of Congo and Rwanda is being hailed by some as historic breakthrough. Now, a diplomatic feat that may finally move the African Great Lakes region towards lasting peace and stability. That is supposedly what it is meant to be. But the optimism, and I must say that that optimism was actually shared more by Donald Trump. And I believe that in the course of this conversation, we will try to explore why Donald Trump has that optimism. But that's what it is. He has that optimism, but it is tempered with realism. And the realism is this, Charles. The region remains volatile. The agreement's implementation faces very, very serious, challenges. And the stakes, not less access to strategic minerals, are incredibly high. Tonight, we need to ask our question, but the questions are for you. I will provide the answers.
Right. Okay. Well. Thank you for starting to provide those answers. I guess the big question now is, will the running violence in the east of the DRC now end? And I think you posed that question yourself, because I mean there have been previous agreements, but they've all failed to deliver on the ground. Now, you raised a very important point, and so let me throw that question to you. Can President Trump's backing finally deliver a permanent peace in that particular M23 conflict?
I want to give a straightforward answer to that, and my response is that it is doubtful. Now, the central dilemma is this. While the political commitment is significant, the heads of state personally signed and ratified the agreement under U.S. mediation. Fine. The ground truth remains harsh. Clashes involving the M23 rebel actually continue in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, even now, as you and I are having this conversation. And so you ask yourself, if implementation will require troop withdrawals, security coordination, disarmament, and strong international oversight. Do we have any indication that all of those are in place? And all of these are supposed to happen under fraught conditions. Many observers remain skeptical, and that includes myself, I must add. And without credible enforcement or buy-in from all armed actors, recall that in the clip that you showed, as intro to this conversation, the gentleman there on the ground actually mentioned the same thing. Many observers remain skeptical, and like I said, including myself, and without credible enforcement or buy-in from all actors, the deal risks becoming another paper accord.
Okay, well, I mean, that's a good point, because even as that agreement was being signed in Washington, we were hearing of clashes and violence between the army and M23 rebels in South Kivu province. And the problem is that this agreement is focusing on the M23 rebels and the DRC army. But I understand that in that region, there are about 45 armed groups fighting for different objectives and even ideologies. So given that there are other groups that are not part of this deal, might they likely continue fighting against the army?
That's absolutely correct, Charles. Now, first, mistrust between DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Rwanda remains extremely deep, especially over troop withdrawal and historical grievances. The rebel group M23, like you highlighted, which is a key player on the ground, was not even a party to the agreement and has already continued fighting. Secondly, disarmament of militia and non-state armed groups like those linked to past genocides in Rwanda and the rest of them is complex and politically fraught. Third, and equally important, Charles, is economic deals tied to mineral extraction risk exploiting local populations if not carefully managed, and could fuel renewed competition or even conflict. Now, finally, on that point, I want to say that humanitarian concerns, persist. Millions displaced, and fragile trust may crumble if civilians do not see tangible improvement very quickly. So, yes, there are a lot to be worried about, Charles.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the issue of the huge amounts of valuable mineral resources and the fact that obviously those resources have affected the war and are to some extent reflected in this peace deal. That suggests that it's a very big factor. I want to thank you very much indeed for joining us. Collins Nweke is a global affairs analyst and columnist for the Brussels Times. He was speaking to me on the line there from Brussels in Belgium.